YouTubers Sam and Colby have released a series of videos investigating hauntings purportedly to be happening in the Conjuring house. The Conjuring house is allegedly where a mythology of hauntings have occurred from which the movie narrative is based on. I've already released one video of mine debunking the paranormal couple, Satori and Cody. Satori and Cody are the main focus of the first video of the series on Sam and Colby's main channel, and in addition, an uncut video testing the knocking method on their Reacts channel. I have recently found old footage showing Cody using his knocking method without Satori.
I'm gonna go through the alphabet. A, B.
First letter is B.
And a few examples of people making the sounds themselves. That being said, let's now debunk the rest of the videos in the series. First, let's talk about the ghost hunting devices that are used in these videos. The RAM pods, for example, work based on motion in a local EMF field that it detects, and it is quite sensitive. For example, Kenny Biddle from the Skeptical Inquirer did experiments with these devices and found even something like a two-way radio causes these devices to go off. Additionally, he found the device would go off simply by walking up or down stairs. What's funny though is in that same article, Kenny Biddle talks about using a Faraday cage to help isolate any outside variables. Sam and Colby do actually use a Faraday cage, but they don't completely close it off, so it's kind of useless. Then let's talk about flashlights. The type of flashlights they use are twist-on, and typically are set just enough off that any sort of small vibrations or temperature fluctuations can cause a light to turn off or on. A channel by this name, which I'm not going to pronounce, has done experiments with these typical ghost hunter flashlights. If you want to get an in-depth explanation, there's a link in the description to the video. And then there's the spirit box, which is literally just a radio with some white noise mixed in that rapidly switches between different radio frequencies.
Is that correct?
The Estes method requires using headphones with this device while also being blindfolded. But basically, the words they gather are ones the user is already focused on. There's a rapid succession of words that are being thrown at you at any one time, and it's up to the individual user to decipher these words.
Hello?
The channel SciShow Psych has a video on how auditory illusions trick your brain into hearing things. They demonstrate how visually, if you are cued into hearing a word a certain way, then you are more likely to interpret it that way.
For example, listen to this. Not a lot there, right? But if you know it's going to be someone saying, "The football player lost a shoe," it becomes easier to hear that message even though it's garbled, and it's super hard to unhear it.
So that is more likely happening for us, but for the crew on screen, it's the priming effect. For example, if we've been hearing Abigail, Abigail, Abigail all the series, the crew is more likely to pick up the word Abigail during a spirit box session. And we do see a couple of examples where the crew on screen disagrees with what's being called from the spirit box.
Next to you?
I heard neck. Did they say for demons? Or for Dave?
For Dave, yeah.
Dave?
Do any of you remember the Yanny Laurel meme from a few years ago? That's an example of how different people can experience different sounds. The Alice box is quite similar to the spirit box, but it filters the words out for you. I think a lot of the time what is spit out is only tangentially related. Finally, the EMF reader, which is an electromagnetic frequency detector, is also quite sensitive like the RAM pod. An author from the James Randi Educational Foundation, Kenny Biddle, who also wrote about the RAM pod on the Skeptical Inquirer, wrote an article debunking the EMF reader's usefulness. For example, simply powering on a video camera spiked the EMF reader. Then a test was done using a speedlight flash for a photography camera. The moment the flash came on, the EMF spiked. The test was also done with a two-way radio, like the RAM pod. And of course, the third and eventually fourth light would light up when the button was pressed on the radio. There were also tests done with cell phone notifications, which also lit up the EMF lights. As a result, it's clear that this device is also quite sensitive. And now let's go through the series chronologically. In episode 2, we have Amanda, who is allegedly a medium, and has worked with Sam and Colby in the past at the house. At timestamp 1720, Amanda starts writing after FR spelled out, and then finishes Frank.
EFGHIJKLMNOPQRAV. Frank? I wrote R and it stopped on R and I was... Wow.
Curiously enough, a few moments later, we learn that the name of her great-grandfather has been spelled out.
ABAABCDEFBART. More? My last name is Bartlett.
Do you know a Frank?
My dad's name is Frank Bartlett.
Oh my god.
And nobody, I don't use my last name on social media.
Amanda seems surprised throughout this whole ordeal, despite being a medium herself. At 25:25, Amanda claims to have made eye contact with a ghost spirit, a soldier.
Is that the same soldier that you saw outside, walking past?
I think it is. We can ask.
Do you know? Yeah? Is it? Okay.
Wow.
Is that the soldier you saw in the kitchen the first time you came here? Mm-hmm. Remembered you and wanted to call you back.
Did you make eye contact with him?
Oh, yeah.
So he...
It should be noted that soldier spirits are a common mythos within the Conjuring house already.
So it's very likely that any soldiers that were buried here were those from the war. And even in our past investigations, we have confirmed that there are soldiers here and they most likely are trapped. Do you believe those soldiers are still here?
I do believe that.
She also claims to have physically seen different spirits throughout the house, which only she can see.
Here, walk us through that again, right?
No,
you were right here?
I was sitting in this beanbag as I was kind of peeking my head, trying to get a better look at him. He was peeking his head at me and we were just making direct eye contact.
Quick side note here, they keep using this picture of this boy and then overlaying the thermal image over it. This picture has nothing to do with the Conjuring house. It's actually a famous photo from the Amityville house. And yeah, it has nothing to do with the Conjuring.
I snapped the picture. You know, you can see your outline. Yeah. You couldn't see his outline on the thermal camera, but I could see him with my eyes, and so I figured I might as well just shoot the picture, and he developed on the picture.
Amanda's eyes aren't special. They detect visible light like any other human. And cameras work this way as well, not including special cameras or special film. Any figure Amanda claims to see, she is lying about, or is in a hallucination of some sort. At 33:51, Amanda writes down good when the question is first asked.
You said good!
I did. I wrote that down right after the question got asked, because that's what I heard her say.
Most of the time she finishes the word after it starts. In this case, though, she has also written down purple, but that hasn't come up. Later, the three of them, Sam, Colby, and Amanda, go outside to use the Estes method to contact spirits. And again, a spirit box scans really quickly between frequencies, and any sort of garbled message can be construed by whatever the user seems to hear. At timestamp 45:34, Amanda says she wrote down a number, 7.
Yes.
7?
That's the number I wrote down.
Oh my god, she just wrote that down.
7 spirits.
But there's also a few other words and symbols that didn't come up. I think she doesn't show them though, because it would invalidate herself as a medium. And again, I think this could be part of the priming effect as well, because there is already this mythos of 7 spirits.
Keep hearing voices that they're saying the same thing. They're saying it all together. There are 7 dead soldiers buried in the wall. There are 7 dead soldiers buried in the wall.
Or Colby is just lying and inserting these words. Anything's really possible. Later, 2 other YouTubers joined the fray, Exploring with Josh and Seth Borden. At timestamp 1:22:25, they purport to hear, "I am dead," although let's hear it with different subtitles and see which one sounds the best. As you can see, it's really in the I or in this case, ear of the beholder, to hear what you want to hear. During all of this happening, supposedly one of the doors downstairs swings open.
What the fuck?
Oh my god!
It was enough force to move the rock on the floor.
Across the way, there is a portable AC unit set up though. It's also really suspicious that rocks were specifically set up in addition to cameras on this specific location. And as far as the camera moving, it could be them walking around upstairs. Later, they all split up, and Seth and Josh are doing their own exploring upstairs when something touches Josh.
Can you tell us your name?
Whoa, what was that?
Someone just touched my arm.
No. Whoa. Whoa.
However, earlier we do see there's an AC unit, which was supposedly turned off in the beginning of the episode on one side of the second floor. But there is another AC unit that is not. In hindsight, I realize these are 2 separate days of filming, so this doesn't exactly track, but the point is there are 2 different AC units on opposite sides of the second floor. And this is the one that is closer to Seth and Josh. And I did spot a vent coming through the floor when they first walked up. These are all potential vectors for any sort of wind or movement coming through. Now let's get to part 3. In this episode, we have additional guests, Bella, Poarch, and Larray. Fraudsters once again make their manipulative trick on Larray and Bella. Larray makes a joke about how they know his name.
Larray, that is crazy. How do you know my name? Oh, I signed it.
And then Satori quickly plays it off and says,
Sorry, that made me laugh.
Oh my god.
in context, it is kind of funny, knowing that they are frauds, and that is how they know that about them. And then we get to part 4. In this case, we have 2 more characters, Nikki and George. At timestamp 1626, they talk about getting sick.
I'm getting a headache.
And wasn't your stomach hurting a little bit too?
My stomach's been hurting, I've been really lightheaded, and now the headache's setting in.
We need some Advil quick.
Maybe we'll go outside for a bit.
Oops. How are you feeling, George?
My headache's the same as it was before, you know, it's just like I feel it. It's not like a big headache, but if I think about it, I feel it. I'm like,
Anxiety can also cause these symptoms. At 30 minutes, they start playing the picture game, in which each member takes turn taking pictures of each other while holding a mirror. None of them seem to catch anything until the end, which happened to be Colby's pictures taken by Nikki. The first time she's taken the picture, we can see her finger get very close to the lens. However, that's only for the first picture. We do not see her for the second picture because she's out of frame the second time. In my opinion, it's probably her fingers that got close to the lens. She does say that she looked through the viewfinder and it was clear.
I'm telling you, I looked through it and it was clear. I did not have my hand in front of it.
But the viewfinder is separate from the lens on this Polaroid film camera. Finally, we come to the priestess character, who gives a tarot card reading. Tarot cards are literally just the luck of the draw. What's to say you can't reshuffle and go again? Is that not part of the rules? If you could choose a different deck or a different performer to do the reading, you're simply going to get a different set of cards in a different reading. I feel like there's a huge leap in logic involved that one can claim to tell your future that is often quite vague anyways. It reminds me a bit of astrology and horoscopes, which I've already analyzed in a previous video. And then we come to the Ouija board session, which is the most laughable and nonsensical experience out of all these ghostly communication experiences.
You can see it in your mind's eye. Into the sacred triangle of Solomon. L, D, no, KGLU, glue.
It's not human entity want. Can you tell us what this thing in the woods has?
Most of the responses are just a yes and no.
Human?
Thank you, James.
Is the thing that we've been talking to, the thing that resides in the woods of the Conjuring house.
Can this non-human entity do any harm to us? No.
All week, do you recognize us?
And if you didn't know about the Ouija board, there's an explanation behind this illusion, dubbed the Ideomotor effect. The show Brain Games on the National Geographic Channel did an episode where they explore the Ouija board. Basically, when you blindfold the experimenters, the planchette can no longer find any letters on the board. There's also a great video on SciShow, Psych, that explains this in more detail. You can find a link to both videos in the description. And that's it. That's the most compelling evidence for ghosts in the series. I want to give a shout out to Beardo Gets Scared for mentioning my channel in one of his recent videos. And also shout out to his community and everyone else who has found me this past week. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you aren't already, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more debunk style videos like this one.